Hey, and welcome back. I'm going to start off by reading a little quote from tinybuddha.com. This is for the people who went through trauma and didn't come out of it with a thicker skin, but instead came back with sensitivity to the world and a deep sadness that won't go away. Some of us went through something and lost a piece of ourselves. Our broken hearts never healed quite right afterwards. I see you, I feel you, and I am you. It's going to be okay. I wanted to start off with that because we're going to talk about how trauma comes in different colors. It's not all about extreme trauma. Sometimes it's everyday trauma that builds up and builds up. And that's the whole purpose of what we want to get across. This topic, it goes so unspoken. And I'm going to kind of delve away from my script a little bit. These experiences don't always have us coming out, with a thicker skin. Like they say, pull up your big girl panties. Well, guess what? You know what? Sometimes we just really have a difficult time doing that. When you think of the word trauma, you think extreme, you think car accident, you think physical, you think horrific. But what we want to focus on today is the everyday emotional trauma and how we can find other ways to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Thanks, Mom. For those of us who acknowledge our traumas and are working towards healing and growing, what we need to be careful of is the blame game. So many times I hear people who experience different types of trauma. They are so diligent in their journey on resolution and sometimes revenge and making sure they obtain that apology. And that's not about the journey. The emotional trauma, it affects everyone on a daily basis, and it affects everyone differently. For some people, they create barriers. They create these huge brick walls that you just can't seem to get past. When you see them, they're emotionless or they put on this fake smile. For others, like myself, it might lead to a different kind of strength. I embrace vulnerability. I embrace softness. I embrace kindness and compassion and growth. That's not to say that I don't get angry. And that's not to say that I don't cry or have a pity party. I do. I allow those emotions to flow. I need to experience the healing of that trauma. Everyday trauma that I went through, which I'm sure, most people have gone through at one point or another, is I had to unexpectedly walk away from a job that was my career. It felt like my world was collapsing. I worked there for so many years, and it was, I have to say, quite a cushy position. But it was tough on my psyche. And I was currently experiencing some very personal medical issues. Once I left, then the afterthought starts. Where was my income to live going to come from? How am I going to feed my pets? How am I going to feed my rescues? How am I going to pay my car payment? And what am I going to do if my kids need money? It just had so many questions whirling and whirling in my head, taking over. They were heartbreaking. They were overwhelming. Initially, nope, I didn't toughen up. Yep, I had a big, huge pity party. Also, I'm not the type of person who prefers to ask for help. And when I did reach out for assistance, there were no options available for me. So I pounded the internet for quite some time, knowing I would not be able to perform the physical requirements for most of the positions I was applying for. Now at this point, my house payment's past due, my car payment's past due, and all I kept thinking was, oh my gosh, now what? Then it kind of came to me. I really loved being on the radio as a former radio host, and I loved to read books. So after doing some research and using as many free apps and tools that I could find on the internet, in 2 months, I found myself a requested narrator for Audible. No, they are not sponsoring this podcast. So I was not only narrating, I was narrating, producing, and mastering all the audiobooks. There were 19 total that I completed. This in turn became a way not only for supplemental income, but it also allowed me to express my emotions and strengths. How this happened? I only chose those audiobooks that were of deep passion of mine. Health, wellness, essential oils, they all were right there for me. This was a way that I was able to find a way to channel my emotions into something beautiful and meaningful. And then eventually a position came up that I was able to work. I just needed to be patient. This situation shows how creativity can be a powerful tool for processing emotional trauma. There are a multitude of everyday traumas we go through, some of them being faced with betrayal. Everyone has those people that they just can't tell the truth. You have the people who want you to be dependent on them all the time. When you're going through that trauma, of course, they're your best friends. But when you're not going through any type of trauma, you're lucky if you hear from them. And that's when you take a step back and you take a look and notice, hey, you know what? I haven't been through this identical situation before, but I have been through this feeling before. And that's when you're going to notice a change. You're not going to be asking why this time, though. You're going to be telling yourself, no matter how hard it is, no matter how hard it gets, we will get through this. We are stronger than this. Redirecting your focus and creating an outlet. Sometimes we just need to embrace our vulnerabilities and using them to create deeper connections and find healing. So you see, we all don't need to become a brick wall to work past everyday emotional trauma. It's okay to be vulnerable. Are we going to be accepted all the time? Absolutely not. But sometimes we just need to take a look at our options and what will bring us a bit of joy from a situation or an everyday issue that really hits home. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you know of someone who is going through a really tough time, remember it's okay to feel deeply and to seek professional support. Contact your local crisis line. All right, until next time, take care, stay connected, don't let life get you down, and have a fantabulous day.